to Power Conversations podcast by What's Your Superpower TV. This podcast features conversations of overcoming by faith and pushing through to fulfill a purpose-driven life. This podcast is hosted by CEO and best-selling author Nadia Francois. Welcome to the broadcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Power Conversations Podcast Live. We are here tonight hosting an amazing book discussion for Miss Nicholette Hemingway. I'm going to bring her up. Hey, Queen, how are you?
I'm great, Queen. How are you?
I'm doing amazing today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. My name is Nicholette Hemingway. I am a native of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I currently live in the metro Columbia, South Carolina area. I am a mom of one, and I'm a Gigi to a handsome grandson, and I'm also an author. I have authored 3 books, 2 that are faith based, and 1 that is on professional development. And I am eager to share my story and eager to encourage others to share their story. And I'm so glad that you invited me here tonight, Nadia.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being here. And thank you for that wonderful intro. Now, I want to get right into what we are here for, talking about you and your last book.
Yes.
If you want to start with a little bit of background, you are certainly welcome to do that. And then we'll dive into the book.
Okay, great. This book is near and dear to my heart. It's called Little Black Girl from the Beach, A Wake Up Call from God. And it takes you on a journey with Denise, or Nisi as she's called, by family and friends, and different challenges she's had through life, such as a childhood trauma, a childhood disability, friends issues. We have problems, as elementary, teenage, adults with friends, and then juggling, work, family, and school life at times. And then she goes on a downward spiral with drugs and how she gives her life to Christ at the foot of a bed in a hotel room. So that's pretty much, it about the book.
So, what's the name of the book?
It's called Little Black Girl from the Beach, A Wake Up Call from God.
Yes. And so, what inspired you to first off become a writer?
Pretty much, it's been my daughter who is my biggest cheerleader. She was telling me for years, she was like, Mom, you need to write your story. And I'm like, no, nobody wants to read about my story. My life is boring. And she's like, no, Ma, your life is really good. It's really fascinating, and other people should know about it. And so I put it off, put it on. Probably about 5 years ago, I was editing a book for a friend. And as I was doing it, I heard God said, and when you gonna finish your book? And I was like, ooh. I hurried up and edited her book, sent it back to her. And then it took me 2 weeks to finish writing the book because I had started it a few years before. And then, I got to a painful part. I'd put it aside, I'd wait for a few months, then I'd pull it back out. And then it just got to the point where, God was like, you got to write your book. You doing somebody else's book. And so that's what spurred me to complete the book.
Yes. And so you had a book before this?
This is my first one. I've written 2 other books since then.
Oh, this was the first one. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
this is my
Good.
baby. Yes.
So that's why she loves to talk about this one. I had the privilege of reading a portion of the book and I found it very interesting. I enjoyed it. And so, it just opened up. I couldn't really tell if everything was about you or it was just a great intriguing story, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Just telling some of your story. But tell me, At once you published the book, how did it feel? Because I heard you say you stopped on it a couple of times, you started back, you stopped. So it's a two-part question. So I'll say, what got you to, well, I know you said God kind of tugged on you, but
Yes.
we still have to move, ourselves. So what really moved you to go ahead and just finish, or go ahead and do a little bit more, opposed to how you actually felt?
Thank you so much, Nadia, for your comments about the book. I wanted to finish something that I started because I realized in the past, some projects I started and didn't finish. They were half
Yeah.
done or almost to the end, and then I just stopped for some reason. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to really finish this project because it became part of me. And in essence, this is part of me. It's, fictionalized, but I tell people it's fiction wrapped in truth. In essence, it is my story, but I had to
Yeah.
fictionalize it because I know some of my folks, they would want to sue me. And so I'm like, this ain't you. This is
Okay.
fiction.
And that's
So
what I mean by, like, I can almost think it was your story, but the way that you wrote it, it was like, oh, this is, it was good either way. But, it was just, I enjoyed. I really did.
yeah,
And
so
it's been
that's
a
what I
while, so
did.
I know I enjoyed it if I still remember through all the other stuff I didn't had in my brain. So I enjoyed it.
Well, great. Thank you. But I mean, I really just wanted to finish something, and
Yeah,
not leave it incomplete and then look back years later and regret that, wow, I should have did that book.
yeah,
Everybody and their grandmother now has a book out and I should have did my book. And
yeah.
so I didn't care whether one person bought it or 1,000 people bought it. I just wanted to complete this project and do, what God had, commanded me to do, finish this.
Yeah. Good, good. And then the other part of the question was, how did you feel once you completed it?
I was like, but then on the next part, it was like, okay, I need to write part two. But I was like, no, you got to take a breather. You got to, promote the book and, you need to do some other stuff. But I really wanted to start on the second part almost as soon as I published it. I was ready for, and it's like, no, you got to let this, gather some steam and, move before you throw a second part at them.
Yeah. So, how was it received by your peers and family and the people close to you?
It was received very well. Quite a few of them called me and it was like, oh, Nike, I didn't know you were going through this. And I was like, well, this is not something you would discuss in the break room, or this is
Yeah.
not something you would discuss, at a family get together. And so they really were intrigued and in shock of some of the things that I went through and how they see me and how they know me. It was, sort of contradictory. And I was like, well, y'all, that was my past. And, those are things that help to shape and mold me into the person I am now. God doesn't take you through situations without it being a learning, part to it. And so, everything that's happened to me, it's been a learning process, to help me to grow and even to, encourage and help others.
So, what would you tell another, uh, and I won't restrict it to a woman, but what would you tell another writer um, about completing what they started, or even just starting on writing their memoir, or as you as you did it as a nonfiction book?
Pretty much complete what you start because you'll feel like an emptiness if you don't finish it. And outline it. I'm not an outliner person. God just give me the grace. I just put pen to paper and I just write it. But
Hmm.
if you need to outline it, give a little description of each chapter, give your chapters a title, and, outline how much you plan on writing. Is this going to be, a sequel, a trilogy, a series? Don't try to give people everything up front if you know there's more to say for other books. And also, I would advise them to tell your story. Everyone has a story to tell. Just like you, Nadia, your life is unique to you. My life is unique to me. So we each have a story that could help and encourage someone else. So don't think your story is insignificant, whether you're writing nonfiction and it's like mine, truth wrapped in it, or you're just creating, a fantasy book or a romance book for that matter. Write your story because someone out there wants to read it.
Or they need it. They may need to
Yes.
read it, right? Because one thing about putting our story out there, it can save someone else, right? We can save someone else from going through some of the things that we went through. We can save someone by them reading our story, knowing that we made it through some of those trials and tribulations that we went through. And they see that, and they're like, wow, if she did it, I can do it, right? And so that's really one of the main reasons for telling our story, to help someone else to not have to go through what we went through, or just to be that example that, look, God is real. He is,
Amen.
you know, he is the one.
Yes,
That's all I can
yes,
say. He
yes,
is the one, and he is the only one that can pull you from those dark places, from those low places. And so when we give our testimony to the next woman or the next man, they know that he is real and he is powerful, and
yes,
it can happen for any of us, right? We just have to believe and then put our action behind it. And so I asked a series of questions to act, to just to allow you to tell other people what we go through when we writing these books. And because is a reality behind this thing, right? We can't, it doesn't just pop out. We go through stuff that holds us up.
yes,
We go through stuff, we go through mental states that tell us not to do it, or nobody wants to hear it. And so in moments like this, it's very important for us to let the people know, it is hard to write,
yes,
sometimes, because when you're writing, like when you're journaling, it's not really hard to write, right? Because we're
right,
writing our feelings, we're writing, we may be writing from a writing prompt, we may be writing what we went through that day, right? But when it comes to actually writing something that we're going to publish, that we're going to put out to the world, it's hard, y'all, to even make the decisions of what to say. Because like Miss Nike said, she's like, people gonna sue me if I put them in this book the way that,
yes,
the reality of the story. But she made that story feel like, I'm telling you, and it's crazy because all of the books that, and not just books but articles and chapters, because I publish other people's anthologies, I publish my own anthology, so I've read so much since you sent me that book. And for me to remember how that, because it was like when I asked you which book you're going to talk about, I was like, oh yes, I like that book. And the crazy part is, for New Year's, I was cleaning my room and I ran across it, and I was
oh
like,
wow,
this was so good. And so I have a stack of books that when I purchase from other authors, I put them in one stack. And then my big stack of books that I sell, I have on the other side. And so I was like, oh, I got to put this with, my other author books. But I had it in my room because I was reading it, and I was
oh
like,
great,
oh, it's good. I didn't quite finish it, but I got the guts of it, right? And so yeah, it was really good. I really like the way that you did that. And the thing about it is, that was a very creative way to put your story out there. And so I was excited for you to come back today. Anyway,
well thank you.
so with that being said, what you wrote two books after that. Tell me about those.
Sure. And, I give God all the glory because if it wasn't for how he set up circumstances and situations in my life, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have been able to have the courage to put that in print. Like you're saying with the journaling, it's just, our thoughts of the day, how things went, to, put it in something that'll be printed. It really
Yeah.
brings some emotions to the surface. So,
Yeah.
I really, thank God for that. And my other two books are called, one of them is a devotional. It's called Love Letters from Jesus, a 30-day journal of love. And it's pretty much love letters that Jesus has written to me over the years. One of them in there is over 18 years old. And you know how, God will wake you up like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, write this down. So I always keep a
Yeah.
notebook on my nightstand. So I'm writing this stuff down, with one eye open. And I started to read it to some friends a few years ago, just some of them. And they're like, Nike, that's poetry. I'm like, poetry? It's just stuff Jesus gave me in the middle of the night. And a friend suggested that, I should put some of these in a book. And so I started going through and I was like, okay, God, tell me which ones to put in. And so I came up with 30 of them. And it's a devotional. One side, it has the love letter. And the other side, it's some lined pages where you can write down your thoughts, your reflections, any prayers, or how, that love letter touched you. So I'm really excited about that. That came out last year. And then the same year, I published the first book. I published one on professional development called 5 Secrets to Nail That Job. And
Okay.
pretty much it's a small, good, concise, and compact secret telling of how to present yourself in an interview. So it's on interviewing skills, interviewing tips. And a lot of professionals out there, they are not confident and or competent in answering common interview questions. They're not confident in their appearance. So I go through all that, attire, answering common interview questions, how to, be courteous during an interview, because there's etiquette in interviews. So
Yeah.
I lay out 5 secrets about that. So those are my 3 books.
Love it. Love it. So tell us, how do we get the books? How do we purchase?
Yes. One way of purchasing them, you can go to my author's website, which I have listed here on the screen, writewithnike.com, or you can also look me up on Amazon as N Hemingway, and all 3 books should pop up there as well. So those are definitely ways to purchase them. If you go to my author's website, I will personally sign it for you and mail it out to you myself. If you're getting it from Amazon, no signature, no encouraging words. So whichever way works best for you, that's fine with me.
Love it. Love it. And okay, so do you have a business, Miss Nike?
Yes, I do. I have a business where I do career coaching, dealing with, people in their careers, whether you're looking for, job search tools, how to, interview yourself properly in terms of mock interviews, how to create that resume that will have you stand out from the crowd. And pretty much it's nikehspeaks.com. And I'd love for you to connect with me. I do have a freebie that I give out to people who join my email list as well.
Love it. Love it. Yes. And will you provide some parting words for our audience?
Sure. If you're passionate about something, more than likely you are able to put it in writing. Again, it's your story. Only you can tell your story the best. Don't think about someone writing it for you per se, unless you really don't feel comfortable, but everyone has a story to tell. And your story is unique to you because your circumstance may help someone who's going through the same thing, and they can realize that, hey, I can overcome this. And I just want to encourage everyone to be overcomers. If God has put you to it, He'll bring you through it out on the other side, and you will be victorious. So that is my parting words for people, and to also, get my book when you get a chance. It's really great. I think you'll enjoy Nisi, the main character, and some of the other supporting characters in the book. Some parts will definitely have you laughing. I've gotten those kind of comments from several friends and family members, but it's just a really good story. And part two will be coming out soon.
Yay. Y'all connect with this queen. Do you have any social media that you want to put out there?
Sure, you can definitely connect with me on Facebook. It's under my name, Nicolette Hemingway. If you want to connect with me on Instagram, it's a little funky spelling, and I'll put it in the link. But definitely, I'm available on different platforms to communicate with.
And I'm sure, do you have them connected to your website?
I believe so. I can't remember, but I believe it is connected to the website. Let me see if I can get this here. Okay, that's IG. Let me see, Facebook. Facebook is just my name. Um,
All right, and I'm just placing her links in the comments so you guys can connect with her on her social platforms and also the website. This was really good, Miss Nicolette. I
Thank
certainly enjoyed
you.
it tonight.
Yes, I enjoy being with you, Nadia, as usual. We have a good time. And, again, I just thank everyone who's tuned in, whether you're a fan of Nadia or a fan of mine. We just thank you both. This has been, a great opportunity to really talk about a book that is really near and dear to my heart. And I just, appreciate you for bringing me on, Nadia, and just love how we connect and have a good time.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And just know that you are always welcome
Well,
back
thank you.
whenever you have new productions and new publications coming out. We are always here to help you get the word out about it.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you. Because hopefully, I'll be talking to you a little later on this year once I put out part two to Nisi Storia, which will be called Little Black Girl from the Beach Answering the Call from God.
Wow, I love it.
So
Yay.
stay tuned. It's coming out
Awesome.
soon.
I
So I
love it.
look forward to coming back to talk to you about part two and hear your reaction to part two and what you think of it, because I will definitely send you a copy.
I love it. Thank you, Queen, so much for everything. Y'all reach out, connect, purchase your books with an S. And I'm just going to throw out there, try to purchase them from her website so that you can get that good autograph copy from straight from the author. All right.
Yes.
So, guys, thank y'all for joining us tonight. This has been another episode of Power Conversations Podcast Live. Make sure that you are subscribed to all of our social media pages, WYSP TV. That's What's Your Superpower TV, and Power Conversations Magazine and Podcast. Good night. We love y'all.
Good night.